Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. In the Land of Origin, the Tianji icefield boasted an expansive territory known as the Black Sky Realm. For endless years, it was shrouded in vast black clouds. The expanse covered by these black clouds was so vast that it was almost comparable to the entire territory of second-tier nations like the Yu Kingdom and the Shi Kingdom. Luo-he. Within the depths of the black clouds, a shadowy figure with wings lay hidden. This Luo-he certainly has guts. He should have guessed that there's a godly king behind the exotic beast, yet he still doesn't show me any respect, pondered the winged figure. He follows Marquis Chu Yu, a newly promoted first-class marquis. The struggles among the first-class marquises of Emperor Chu's lineage are brutal. It won't be long before Luo-he finds himself in trouble. I'll make my move when the opportunity is right, the figure resolved, having lived endless years and becoming increasingly cautious in its actions. To become a being at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm, one would be able to maintain complete memories even after reincarnation. Even he was not keen on making powerful enemies without good reason. Yet, he was clear that by subtly fanning the flames at the right time, he could induce many powerful beings into dire straits. This exotic beast is one I have enslaved in secret, never revealing its existence. Now that the exotic beast has exposed its identity, I also used a secret technique to conceal the cause and effect. In the entire Land of Origin, only a handful could trace it back to me, mused the winged figure. Emperor Qing from Flame Wind Ancient Country and the reigning Emperor Di Fu both excel in probing causality and could uncover my identity. However, the heavenly bend veins I targeted belong to the controlled territory of Emperor Chu's lineage. Emperor Chu would not stoop to asking Emperor Qing or Emperor Di Fu for help over such a trivial theft. The winged figure was once a guest official of Primal Chaos Realm from Flame Wind Ancient Country, and during that era, it even reached the level of transcendence of Primal Chaos Realm. After becoming a godly king, its strength naturally grew much deeper, which is why it left Flame Wind Ancient Country. Many godly kings establish their own nations or factions, believing they have the strength to stand tall in this world. The difficulty of obliterating them is incredibly high. The mountain-sitting guest of the past also thought he was more than capable of self-protection, enough to deal with most dangers in the Land of Origin. He never expected the master of the Shi Kingdom to be so unbridled and reckless. Flame Wind Ancient Country and Thunder Ancient Country occupy the core territories of the whole Land of Origin, monopolizing nearly all treasures. What does it amount to if I take away just a bit? After all, they are the precious rarities nurtured by heaven and earth, the winged figure thought. The other exotic beasts have not been exposed yet. The winged figure melded into the black clouds. These boundless black clouds were where his true form resided. The entire Black Sky Realm, blanketed by the black clouds, was teeming with countless cultivators, countless exotic beasts, and whenever a Primal Chaos Realm exotic beast was born, it would be quietly enslaved by him. He would then send them to the two great, ancient countries to steal various heavenly and earthly rarities. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. At Chu capital, Marquis Mansion of Chu Yu. Brother Chu Yu, Luo Feng relayed the details of his mission. Upon hearing, Emperor Chu Yu frowned slightly. This Primal Chaos Realm exotic beast isn't recorded in our intelligence. It must have been nurtured not long ago, and was captured and enslaved while still freshly born. I have no idea who its master is behind the scenes. Whoever dares to dispatch an exotic beast to steal heavenly and earthly rarities from Flame Wind Ancient Country is either strong enough to not fear investigation from Emperor Chu's lineage, or is one of the strong individuals within the imperial clan, Emperor Chuyu was well aware that the most frequent thieves of various treasures were the many marquises within the imperial clan. The marquises were fiercely competitive, and when they couldn't secure enough resources through competition, they began to harbor improper thoughts. Having traced the detailed identity of this exotic beast, your mission is already a success, Emperor Chuyu said with a smile. As for the rest, there's no need to concern yourself further. Whether the exotic beast is backed by a marquis of the imperial clan, or some ancient existence, it's not your place to intervene. Luo Feng nodded. After the exotic beast died, it had no weapon-secret treasures, only some heavenly bend stone essence. With that, a wave of his hand. Several pieces of heavenly bend stone essence as tall as half a person, along with a pile of heavenly bend stone essence grains. A total of 23 pieces of heavenly bend stone essence, and some fragments, Luo Feng reported. That exotic beast was probably required to periodically hand over some of the stolen heavenly bend stone essence to its master. Marquis Chuyu glanced and said, 23 pieces and some, valued at more than 23,000 merit points. Keep it. The spoils of war from carrying out a mission are yours to claim. Luo Feng nodded and put it away. Merit points in Flame Wind Ancient Country were highly valued, and cosmic sand couldn't be exchanged for merit points. From what Luo Feng knew, a complete piece of heavenly bend stone essence would need 1,000 merit points to exchange. But to purchase one from the outside world would cost nearly 300 million cosmic sand, a price that fluctuated, because it was rare for anyone to be willing to sell heavenly bend stone essence. By the way, I've made some inquiries about the primal chaos layer creature materials at the perfect level that you need, Emperor Chuyu said. Our Flame Wind Ancient Country should have 7 of them. 6 of them are with the Godly King, and 1 is with Marquis Wu Huang. Marquis Wu Huang is of the Emperor Wu lineage, and has a very poor relationship with our Emperor Chu's lineage. Even I will need to spend quite some effort to acquire these primal chaos layer creature materials. It will probably take a considerably long time to get my hands on them. Emperor Chuyu also found it challenging. If they can't be obtained, then so be it. There's no need to force it, Luo Feng said. As the 8 Tribulations life form, First Calamity, had no record of the transformation method, Luo Feng needed to constantly refine the transformation method himself. Now that Luo Feng had made considerable progress in terms of life spirituality, he also realized that the life structures of the primal chaos layer creatures he had captured were still too simple, with relatively low potential. To deduce more mystical life structures from scratch was exceedingly difficult. Naturally, Luo Feng hoped to obtain more perfect primal chaos layer creatures to study their life composition. But looking at it now, it seemed quite difficult even for Emperor Chuyu to acquire them. We'll take it slowly, Emperor Chuyu said with a laugh. I haven't been a top-class marquis for long, and as I get to know more friends over time, there will be ways. If there are 7 perfect primal chaos layer creatures in my Flame Wind Ancient Country, I refuse to believe that I can't acquire just their materials. Emperor Chuyu was well aware that the 30 eras, after becoming a primal chaos realm cultivator, was a protected period with no mandatory tasks, giving him sufficient time to grow. Once the protected period ended, he would have to face the same competitive environment as the other 6 top-class marquises, and he would need the help of guest official Luo He. Time passed, and it had been more than 3 eras since Luo Feng arrived in Chu capital. He devoted himself to comprehending the inheritance of the 8 Tribulations life form First Calamity. The inheritance was vast like a sea of smoke. Luo Feng absorbed knowledge and continuously tried to perfect the transformation method. In an elegant pavilion, Marquis Chuyu sat opposite a woman dressed in crimson armor. Marquis Chuyu, rest assured. As long as the North Sea Beast Forest is under my management, I will definitely procure the materials from the primal chaos layer creature of perfect layer that you need, the woman in red armor said with a brilliant smile, brimming with confidence. I, of course, trust the vow of the Lianyu City Lord, Marquis Chu Yu said with a smile. Soon, the Lianyu City Lord should receive the appointment. The woman in red armor and Marquis Chu Yu chatted idly as they drank. A moment later. The woman in red armor revealed a look of joy, as she had received a task from the imperial clan to take charge of the North Sea Beast Forest for 10,000 eras. She did not hesitate to immediately accept the task. Marquis Chu Yu truly keeps his word. The woman in red armor stood up promptly. I'll go to seek my father's help right away. Within 3 days, I will surely bring the materials you need. Marquis Chu Yu stood up. Thank you for the trouble, Lianyu City Lord. In addition to the imperial clan's godly kings, the Flame Wind ancient country also had some guest elder godly kings. These guest elder godly kings were fully integrated into the Flame Wind ancient country, and even granted fiefs, with their descendants thriving there as well. The father of this Lianyu City Lord was the Heaven Capital King, who had been granted a fief by the Flame Wind ancient country. The Flame Wind ancient country did not hold ordinary godly kings in high regard, and those ordinary godly kings didn't qualify to be granted fiefs in the Flame Wind ancient country. This Heaven Capital King was a direct disciple of the primogenitor Yang Feng and addressed emperors as his brothers, making him a formidable figure. The Lianyu City Lord was the only one among the many children of the Heaven Capital King to reach the primal chaos realm. However, the governance of the Flame Wind ancient country was overseen by 13 emperors, with the first-class marquises taking charge. The guest elder godly kings had no right to intervene. Searching the entire primal chaos layer to capture ancient beings of perfect primal chaos layer creatures is either the task of emperors or of beings at the Heaven Capital King's level. Marquis Chu Yu also felt it was not easy. Having planned up to this day, my efforts have finally come to fruition. The promise of the Lianyu City Lord was something Marquis Chu Yu believed in. Phew. Marquis Chu Yu, with his followers in tow, exited the pavilion, including 2 cultivators of the primal chaos realm. The Flame Wind ancient country had some generally weak cultivators of the primal chaos realm, who tried every means to get close to first-class marquises in hopes of seeking opportunities. Emperor Chu Yu. A fierce voice rang out. Marquis Chu Yu's expression changed slightly as he turned to look. He saw 2 figures approaching with a group of followers in tow. Emperor Chu Yu, regarding the task of the North Sea Beast Forest, both Marquis Chu Ji and I sought your assistance. You have given neither of us face. A hideous figure covered in black fur said, his eyes flashing with thunder. I guessed you were aiding the Lianyu City Lord, and it turns out I was right. For the past 3+ eras, I have been yielding on task distributions, but this North Sea Beast Forest mission is critical to me, Emperor Chu Yu stated. I cannot yield any longer. You've gotten bolder, the figure with black fur chuckled strangely, an aura of murder washing over, causing Emperor Chu Yu's heart to skip a beat. Among the 7 first-class marquises, this Marquis Chu Yuan was a madman. With bloodlines from both the Flame Wind and Thunder Imperial clans, Marquis Chu Yuan suffered many hardships in his youth, which twisted and exacerbated his violent nature. Marquis Chu Yuan would only get along well with Marquis Chu Ji, who had a similar temperament. When you're weak, you should stick to deeds that match your strength, the burly figure beside him said to Emperor Chu Yu. You even think you're worthy of taking on an emperor-level task. We first-class marquises have equal status, Emperor Chu Yu replied with an equally unpleasant expression. I've let go of past emperor-level tasks, not receiving even once. This North Sea Beast Forest mission, because I have never received one before, I naturally have priority. Priority, the ugly black-furred figure shouted in anger, we already told you to yield it to us. And you still dare to compete. Bang. A terrifying force hit Emperor Chu Yu's body, also affecting the followers beside him. Even the 2 cultivators of primal chaos realm at his side felt a terrifying presence sweeping towards them. The formation of the House of Pleasure immediately emerged, as Emperor Chu Yu was blasted back, crashing into the formation, with the two primal Chaos Realm cultivators also slamming into the formation, making a thunderous noise that attracted many guests' attention. As for Emperor Chu Yu's ordinary entourage, they were already reduced to ashes. "Oops, I accidentally killed a few of your followers," the ugly black-furred figure cackled. "Guess I'll be fined a few thousand merit points." "Ha ha ha, fine by me. This is a warning," he said. "Next time, I won't be so gentle." The ugly black-furred figure turned and walked away. Marquis Chu Ji beside him also looked indifferently at Emperor Chu Yu, saying, "Emperor Chu Yu, you know Marquis Chu Yuan's temper. Behave yourself, and you'll suffer less. Otherwise, even I can't stop him." With that, Marquis Chu Ji left as well. The expressions of Emperor Chu Yu and the two primal Chaos Realm cultivators at his side were unsightly. "My lord, are we just going to endure this?" A cultivator with several tentacles who couldn't help himself said. "Let's go back," Emperor Chu Yu said coldly, turning to leave. The many guests of this pleasure place also had quite some status, but seeing the conflict between three first-class marquises, none dared to watch for long. Saw the novelfire.ne *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. 2 days later, Emperor Chu Yu arrived at Luo Feng's cave mansion. Brother Chu Yu, Luo Feng came out to meet him. "I have finally not let down Brother Luo his expectations." Emperor Chu Yu laughed heartily. "After plotting for 3 eras, I finally obtained the materials from the perfect layer of primal chaos layer creatures." As he spoke, Emperor Chu Yu took out a jade box and opened it. Inside the jade box was a yellow feather that radiated a strange luster, almost like a precious gem. Luo Feng looked at the yellow feather inside the jade box, feeling its incredibly sharp edges and the fluctuations of the void. Emperor Chu Yu smiled from the side. "This is the golden feather divine bird under the command of Sky Capital King, naturally born in the primal chaos layer. It was very young when it was born, possessing only the strength of the middle layer of the primal chaos realm. Over time, after the Sky Capital King meticulously nurtured it with various rare treasures, it grew into its most perfect form, already comparable to the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm." Luo Feng was amazed, grown to its most perfect form. The primal chaos layer creatures he had captured himself, such as the silverlight creatures, were either formed by merging 100 silver droplets, or even 1,000. These were all very young. According to his own transformation method, 180 billion droplets were the limit for merging silverlight creatures. This golden feather divine bird, though born with primal chaos realm strength, still had room for growth. "I conducted a trade with refining Jade City Lord, the daughter of the Sky Capital King, to obtain this feather of the golden feather divine bird," said Emperor Chu Yu. "Since it was willingly exchanged, this feather will not self-destruct." Luo Feng expressed his gratitude. "Brother Chu Yu, this is a great help to me, thank you. Whether it's cultivators, exotic beasts, or other sentient beings from the primal chaos layer with complete consciousness, wanting to study their body materials. There are only 2 methods. 1. Destroy their consciousness and naturally you can study their corpses. 2. If the subject is alive, they must be willing. Otherwise, with just a thought, their blood, feathers will self-destruct and disperse. The more powerful the life form, the less likely they are to let other powerful beings study their body materials." "Ha ha, why should we be so formal with each other?" Emperor Chu Yu smiled lightly. "I'm in my protection period for the first 30 eras of the primal chaos realm, during which both of us can cultivate safely. But once the protection period is over, I might also need your help." "Anything you need help with, just say the word," Luo Feng said. "During the protection period, there's nothing much you need to help with, Just focus on your cultivation." Emperor Chuyu laughed heartily. "I have other matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first." Luo Feng promptly escorted Emperor Chuyu to the entrance of his cave mansion. Once Emperor Chuyu had left, Luo Feng immediately went into seclusion again. Emperor Chuyu and the conflicts with the other two first-rank marquises were unknown to Luo Feng. On one hand, since arriving in Chu capital, Luo Feng hadn't made many friends. The waters of Chu capital were too deep. The 7 first-rank marquises were already the toughest competitors, not to mention the direct disciples of the emperor and the disciples of other godly kings. The factions were overwhelmingly complex. In the phase where his strength was rapidly increasing, Luo Feng preferred to retreat for cultivation. He was well aware that once his strength was sufficiently strong, the so-called complex situation would quickly become clear. On the other hand, the core of Emperor Chu's lineage's management of numerous affairs was these 7 first-rank marquises. Their conflicts were something the whole of Chu capital dared not discuss. Those who witnessed the conflict kept their silence out of fear. Because angering a first-rank marquis could result not only in death, but could potentially bring disaster to one's family and power base behind them. Moreover, Emperor Chuyu himself wanted to keep these details confidential, not wanting them to affect Luo Feng. He naturally hoped that guest official Luo he would focus solely on his cultivation, the stronger the better. Marquis Chu Ji and Marquis Chu Yuan are both at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm. Marquis Chu Ji has 2 guest elders, Marquis Chu Yuan has 1. Between their camps, there are 5 individuals at the pinnacle tier of the primal chaos realm. Emperor Chu Yu was well aware of their strength, plus some others in the primal chaos realm who follow these 2. The 2 marquises have allied themselves, making their side the most powerful. Although Brother Luo he is also at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm, he is ultimately alone, against their 5. Moreover, Marquis Chu Yuan, carrying the bloodlines of 2 ancient imperial clans, and is heavily nurtured by the old ancestors, is among us 7 first-rank marquises, the most likely to achieve transcendence of the primal chaos realm. Emperor Chu Yu had to admit this point. Among the 7 first-rank marquises, Marquis Chu Yuan is the most reckless and aggressive one, but he is also the most talented and powerful. At the pinnacle tier of the primal chaos realm, without a significant gap in strength, it's very hard to completely kill an opponent. However, there are still levels of strength, just like how Luo Feng can suppress Marquis Liu Yin. Marquis Chu Yuan has never encountered an opponent in the pinnacle tier of the primal chaos realm. Even the godly emperor ancestor highly appreciates his talents. "Now, my strength has reached the top of the primal chaos realm," Emperor Chu Yu silently said. "By the end of the protection period, my strength must advance further. Even if I haven't reached the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm, I must make it so that Marquis Chu Yuan can't touch me." Emperor Chu Yu also had ambitions. In his youth, he chose the path of unlimited godly bodies. Naturally, he aspired to reach the godly king tier. Forcing me to concede. Relinquish many resources. Without resources, how can I grow stronger? Emperor Chu Yu's eyes flashed coldly. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Within Luo Feng's cave mansion, in the quiet room of seclusion, within a space inside the Star Tower, Luo Feng, who was uninvolved in the various powers of Chu capital and made no friends, focused solely on cultivation. This feather. Luo Feng looked at the yellow feather in front of him, pinching it lightly, pulling at it, exceptionally tough, and the edges are like blades. With a thought, the yellow feather flew out, hovering in midair. Luo Feng stretched out a finger, the tip barely visible with sharpness. Whoosh! With a gentle wave of his hand, he sliced off a small tuft of down at the edge of the feather. Luo Feng even felt a bit of resistance. In close combat, I am far more formidable than using the galaxy transformation method, yet cutting through the small down still posed some resistance, Luo Feng silently remarked, then gripped that tiny tuft of down and suddenly exerted force. The terrifying power that transcended the physical realm and reached the zenith of the primal chaos realm burst forth, completely shattering the tiny filament of fur into the most fundamental particles. What is this? A tiny filament of fur, once shattered, turned into tens of thousands of particles. Are these particles as well? Luo Feng observed with slight confusion, noticing some law-secret patterns on the surface of the particles. At first glance, they resembled the particles from other transformation methods like the galaxy transformation method and the black abyss transformation method, but the life spirituality feels extremely strong. It's thousands, even millions of times stronger than the life spirituality of my 5 transformation methods, representing a qualitative change. Why do these particles possess such strong life spirituality? Luo Feng lightly waved his hand and split a particle open. As the particle split, Luo Feng instantly saw clearly. This particle contained the law-secret patterns of primal chaos, and inside it even encapsulated 2 particles that were merging with each other. One larger particle encompassing 2 smaller ones. Are the 2 smaller particles partially merged? Luo Feng observed and continued to split the even smaller 2 particles. As they split, they revealed many law-secret patterns, while also completely disintegrating. Fusion of yin-yang. The Trinity. At that moment, Luo Feng understood the basic life structure of this mightiest primal chaos layer creature, and also why this particle could harbor such powerful life spirituality. A form embodying yin-yang fusion contains endless mysteries, divided into pure yin, pure yang, and the fusion part of yin and yang. And the Trinity further complicates the complexity. Luo Feng cut open another particle to closely observe. Black and white can be considered yin-yang, life and death can be considered yin-yang, and matter and energy can also be regarded as a type of yin-yang. Yin and yang is a state. Particles from the same origin display different states and yet perfectly merge. Regarding the fusion of yin and yang, it's documented in the Body of Life chapter of the first calamity in 8 Tribulations Life Form. Luo Feng used this inheritance to understand the beginning of unity, fusion of yin-yang, the Trinity, 10 directions world. 8 Tribulations Life Form, this inheritance, describes various forms of the body of life. The Trinity is too complex, demanding higher requirements of life spirituality and the body of life. First, try the simpler form of yin-yang. After understanding the inheritance, Luo Feng began to refine his transformation methods. Whoosh! Divine power transformed into 2 droplets joined together. This combination, however, appeared quite ugly and contained only average life spirituality. The yin-yang form is about complementing each other. Luo Feng tried again, after dispersing the previous attempt. Time passed. After numerous attempts, each time learning from the lessons and studying the inheritance further, he also cut open the golden feather divine bird's particles to observe carefully. The golden feather divine bird under the command of Heavenly King could sense its body's material being cut, but as the transaction was legitimate, it could only let everything happen without daring to actively obliterate that one feather. Whoosh! Not knowing how many times he had tried, this time Luo Feng waved his hand, and 2 droplets of silver light combined, yet with a sense of beauty of life, the life spirituality being 10 times stronger than before. This is the feeling. Luo Feng revealed a surprised expression, immediately changing forms repeatedly. A single transformation produced millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of droplets. Luo Feng's soul was mighty now, his spiritual will even stronger, and his transformation methods were executed faster and faster. Soon, 180 billion droplets of silver light formed, each pair combining. Buzz. A contained silverlight galactic river formed, and while it looked ordinary, Luo Feng could feel that his ability to merge his consciousness was much stronger, and its might had increased several times. Having been in Chu capital for so long, my transformation methods have finally undergone a qualitative change. Luo Feng showed pleasure. Now, my spiritual will has reached the threshold of the second realm of Godly King, and I can also manipulate more galaxy blade light. The overall might of this galaxy blade light compared to when I was in Huyang City should have increased tenfold. Luo Feng was quite happy. Sir the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Like the spiritual willed in the standard layers of primal chaos realm, it gradually and slowly elevated, only experiencing a qualitative change from the bottleneck of the primal chaos realm to the Godly King tier. The spiritual will of a Godly King also progresses gradually, from the first realm to the third realm, all through slow accumulation. This kind of accumulation is very difficult, and even ancient Godly Kings struggle to take even one step further over endless years. My spiritual will being able to progress from the first realm of Godly King to the threshold of the second realm. The key factor is the transformation of my life stage. Luo Feng knew this. When he had been an eternal true God, he already possessed the will of a Godly King. Upon becoming a being of the primal chaos realm, and after the growth of his perfect divine body, his soul became even stronger, naturally resulting in a slight uplift in his spiritual will. Unless I elevate my life stage and reach the Godly King tier, which could aid my spiritual will, otherwise I will need to slowly accumulate. Luo Feng was well aware how gradual the normal progression and enhancement was. His spiritual will had been at the pinnacle will of the primal chaos realm in his true God phase. As an eternal true God, by nurturing his godly body and utilizing the calamity beast diagram, he broke through to the will of a Godly King. In the primal chaos realm, he advanced a small step, reaching the threshold of the second realm of Godly King. This video will end here.